Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Seaview in the summer was always dressed in a dazzling carnival coat. Strings of colorful lights hung high above. Food stalls crowded together, and the air was thick with the scent of baked goods, seafood, coffee, and especially the incredible, refreshing aroma of fresh ice cream. Sophia Lane wove her way through the crowd, telling herself, "This time, I'm going to eat until I'm full, eat well, and not think about the balance sheet." She had just taken a break after finishing a stressful project at work. 2 straight months of overtime and instant noodles made Sophia feel she thoroughly deserved a day to let loose. As she passed the festival's central square, she was drawn to a roasted coconut ice cream stand, its rich, nutty fragrance wafting through the air. Beside it sat a row of charming tables in a VIP section, decorated with vases of sunflowers and crisp white tablecloths. Sophia glanced around. There wasn't a VIP sign in sight. Spotting an empty table, she thought, "Well, if it's empty, I'm sitting. My feet are begging for mercy." She calmly pulled out a chair, carefully set her handbag beside her, and was promptly served a golden scoop of roasted coconut ice cream, topped with a sprinkle of crispy dried coconut. Oh my. Sophia closed her eyes to savor the very first spoonful. The cold cream melted on her tongue, blending with the roasted coconut's aroma so perfectly that she nearly cried tears of joy. But before she could take a second bite, a tall shadow fell across the table. Sophia looked up. Standing before her was a man, easily over 6 feet tall, dressed in a white rolled-sleeve shirt and casual khaki pants. Yet the way he stood, the confident posture, the calm depth in his eyes, made Sophia instinctively swallow her ice cream a little too quickly, as if afraid she was about to be interrogated. He tilted his head slightly, his voice deep and clear. "This is my table." Startled, Sophia shot up to her feet on reflex. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'll move right away." But instead of looking annoyed, the corner of his mouth curved into the faintest, most dangerous smile. "Side down." Sophia blinked. "Huh? If you've already eaten my ice cream, the least you can do is say thank you." He pulled out a chair and sat opposite her, his movements unhurried, not bothering to ask for permission, as if her having taken his table didn't matter at all. Sophia's cheeks burned. She wanted to leave, yet couldn't help but feel curious. Who buys ice cream, lets a stranger eat it, and then invites them to stay? The air between them suddenly felt different, warmer, but with a hint of something else, as if that roasted coconut ice cream might be the start of a much bigger story. Sophia hadn't yet decided whether she should make a run for it or stay put and keep eating when the man across from her casually set a VIP card on the table. The gold lettering gleamed under the late afternoon sun. Printed clearly on it was the Carter Creamery logo and the name Ethan Carter, founder and CEO. She tilted her head, glanced at the card, then back at him. You're the marketing guy for Carter Creamery?" Sophia guessed, her voice a little shaky. He chuckled, not with the slightest hint of offense, but as if she had just told a particularly amusing joke. "I'm Ethan Carter, owner of Carter Creamery, and the main sponsor of this festival." Sophia froze, her spoon halting midair. She glanced around. Carter Creamery signs were everywhere. Banners announcing main sponsor Ethan Carter hung across half the stage, and somehow, she hadn't noticed. Sorry about that. I must be behind on the news." Sophia pressed her lips together. "I only know Carter Creamery's ice cream is delicious." Didn't know the face behind it. Ethan raised an eyebrow, as though finding that even more interesting than being recognized. "Honestly, it's rare to meet someone in Seaview who doesn't know what I look like. Probably because I'm an accountant. I bury myself in spreadsheets all day." Sophia rested her chin on her hand, half joking. "Spreadsheets don't have your picture, so I had no clue." He laughed, a warm, deep sound like the tide rolling in. "Well, consider today a direct education." Sophia gave an awkward smile, ready to change the subject, when her eyes landed on the ice cream menu beside them. Dozens of flavors with mouth-watering illustrations: classic vanilla, mint chocolate, sea salt, passion fruit, roasted coconut, almond. "If you're the owner, then tell me, which flavor is the best?" Sophia pointed at the menu, eyes lighting up. Ethan tilted his head, thinking for a second. "The best? That's a tough question. It's like asking a musician which of their songs is the best. Just pick one." "I promise I won't sue," Sophia leaned forward, meeting his eyes with mock challenge. All right. He smiled and leaned slightly closer. Sea salt passion fruit. It's a little salty and tart, but finishes sweet, like an interesting relationship. Oh, how philosophical. Sophia feigned seriousness. I think best means the one you can eat the fastest. Ethan laughed. And how fast is that? Sophia straightened proudly. 3 scoops in under 2 minutes. Be honest. I am honest. She raised her hand as if swearing in court. There was one time I ate 4 scoops. But that doesn't count. It was too hot, and the ice cream melted by itself. He leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting with amusement. I've never met anyone who eats ice cream at such alarming speed. Hey, it's a natural talent. Sophia lifted her chin in mock pride. And you know, eating fast is a strategy. Go too slow, and the ice cream melts. Ruins the presentation. But eat too fast, and you can't savor the flavor, Ethan countered. Sophia braced her elbows on the table, staring at him as if he had just said the most ridiculous thing in the world. Who says so? You can still savor it. The trick is technique. Ethan chuckled again. All right, now I'm curious. You talk about speed and technique in the same breath. So, what's your proper ice cream eating ritual? Sophia cleared her throat like she was about to present to a panel of judges. 1. Admire the ice cream like it's a work of art, but only for 3 seconds. 2. The first spoonful must be huge. That's your first impression. 3. Focus on the flavor layers. Like roasted coconut ice cream, the first layer is rich and creamy, the middle layer is fragrant with coconut, and the last layer is slightly crisp from wafer crumbs. 4. Eat fast enough so it doesn't melt, but still have time to wow at every spoonful. Ethan crossed his arms, nodding with mock seriousness. Sounds like an instruction manual, but an entertaining one. What about you? Sophia asked. What's the tycoon's ritual? First, I look at it, really look. Then, I smell it. Then, I taste it spoon by spoon, searching for flaws. Finally, if the ice cream is perfect, I eat very slowly. Sophia giggled. So, you eat like a detective, and I eat like a sprinter. Fair enough. Ethan smiled. One hunts for flaws. One celebrates the win. The conversation flowed easily, so naturally that Sophia surprised herself. She wasn't usually good at small talk with strangers, especially ones who looked like they'd stepped straight out of a business magazine. But Ethan didn't make her feel pressured. On the contrary, he asked with genuine interest, and every answer of hers made him laugh or smile. At the far end of the table, Sophia's roasted coconut ice cream was more than halfway gone. Ethan tilted his head, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. I've noticed you're eating even faster than before. Sophia instantly covered her cup like a child guarding a toy. You trying to steal it? No. He shook his head, though his eyes stayed on her spoon, just observing a rare phenomenon, someone who can chat and eat ice cream at the speed of light. Sophia laughed. But inside, a strange feeling stirred, not an instant spark, but curiosity about this man, about why he'd let her stay, and about how he seemed genuinely entertained by her half-hour ramble about ice cream. Outside, festival music still blared, laughter spilling through the air. But at this little VIP table, between an ice cream tycoon and an ice cream sprinter, it felt like the story was only beginning. Sophia was scraping up the last bites of her ice cream, trying not to make it evident that she was cleaning the cup like she was afraid to waste any, when Ethan suddenly rested his elbow on the table and tilted his head at her. Are you free tomorrow? Sophia froze, her spoon hovering midair. Free for what? I need someone to test a new ice cream menu, Ethan said, matter-of-factly, as if this was an everyday invitation. She laughed. You're kidding. A new ice cream menu? Don't you have a professional team for flavor testing? I do. But I want someone unprofessional, someone who eats for fun, not for a report. Sophia propped her chin on her hand, eyeing him suspiciously. So, I'm the guinea pig. If you want to call it that. Ethan shrugged, a faint smirk tugging at his lips, but a very well-compensated guinea pig. Then he pulled a gleaming gold card from his shirt pocket, the festival lights reflecting off it. He placed it lightly in Sophia's hand, as if handing her a treasure. This is, she read the embossed text, 1-year VIP voucher, free ice cream at Carter Creamery. Exactly, Ethan nodded. All you have to do is show up to the tasting tomorrow, and it's yours. Sophia stared at the card like it was a solid gold bar. 1 year of free ice cream. The thought of choosing any flavor she wanted every weekend without worrying about the price made her heart race almost as fast as seeing a bigger paycheck. But she kept her tone calm. Sounds like a bribe. Maybe. Ethan arched an eyebrow. But I promise it's not the dangerous kind. Unless you're afraid of gaining weight. Sophia chuckled. But her mind started racing through a dozen theories. Wait, is this some disguised date or a part-time job interview? And if it's a date, who gives a free ice cream pass instead of flowers? And if it's an interview? I have zero experience as a professional taster. What time tomorrow? She finally asked. 10 a.m. Ethan replied instantly, as if he'd known she'd agree. At the Carter Creamery plant down by the old docks. Is there a beach there? Sophia asked curiously. There is, and I'll give you a tour. She twirled the card between her fingers. Sounds dangerous. The most dangerous part is you might get addicted to the job. He leaned in slightly, eyes glinting with a playful challenge. Sophia laughed and gave a single nod. All right, I'll take the risk. Ethan smiled faintly, then stood and signaled the staff to clear the table. Then see you tomorrow, Miss Lane. Wait. How do you know my last name? Sophia frowned. I'm the main sponsor of the festival, remember? The VIP guest list has plenty of details. He winked, then disappeared into the crowd, leaving Sophia sitting there, half confused, half excited. She glanced at the VIP card again, feeling as though she had just signed a strange contract without reading the fine print. Oh well, worst case, I get free ice cream tomorrow. Best case, well, we'll see. The next morning, Sophia drove to Seaview's old dock district. The Carter Creamery building came into view modern in structure, yet holding the rustic charm of old warehouses. Sunlight bounced off its glass facade, while sleek steel chimneys on the side released a sweet aroma, as if the whole building was breathing ice cream. The moment she stepped inside, the scent hit her. Vanilla, chocolate, roasted coconut, salted caramel, and a faint tartness she guessed was passion fruit. The cool air from the refrigeration system made her feel like she'd stepped into a luxury version of a supermarket freezer aisle. Employees in pale blue uniforms bustled about, some carrying trays of fresh ice cream, some weighing ingredients, others tending to massive machines, churning ice cream like they were performing magic. Ethan appeared at the end of the hallway, sleeves rolled up, jeans neat, clipboard in hand. He didn't look like a CEO in a glass office, more like a plant manager running the floor himself. Right on time, he said with a small smile. Ready? Been ready since last night. Sophia folded her arms, eyes sparkling like a kid about to enter a candy store. Ethan led her into a brightly lit room with a long table. More than a dozen small cups of ice cream were neatly arranged, each labeled with its flavor in colorful marker. We'll be tasting 12 new flavors today, Ethan said, as though it was the most normal thing in the world. We'll start easy and finish with a challenge. Sophia glanced at the list and burst out laughing. Sea, salt, chili, passion fruit, pumpkin cheesecake, Earl Grey licorice. This sounds like sabotage. No sabotage. I just want to see your honest reaction, he said, pulling out a chair for her. And remember, no speed eating like yesterday. Round 1. Roasted coconut almond. Sophia closed her eyes, nodding. Safe choice. Like curling up with a blanket on a winter movie night. Round 2. Sea salt, chili passion fruit. Tangy and spicy at once, making her widen her eyes at Ethan. You sure this is ice cream and not seafood dipping sauce? He chuckled. Take another bite. Round 3. Pumpkin cheesecake. She frowned at first, then lit up in surprise. Huh, this is good. Tastes like a Halloween dessert. Round 4. Strawberry pink pepper. She ate, then covered her mouth with a laugh. Is this ice cream or designer perfume? And so they went, flavor by flavor. Ethan took meticulous notes on her reactions, occasionally asking about specific tastes, while Sophia kept teasing him about his recklessly creative ice cream experiments. By the 10th cup, Sophia felt a little woozy. The sweet chill that had been refreshing at first was now giving her a light-headed, floaty feeling. I think I'm ice cream drunk. She set her spoon down, bracing her hands on the table. Ethan's brow rose, and he immediately stood. Ice cream drunk? Yeah, my head's a little light, and I feel kind of floaty. She gave a weak laugh, probably from too much cold all at once. All right, let's get you some fresh air. He motioned for her to follow. He led her out to an expansive balcony overlooking the ocean. The breeze carried the salt of the waves and the warmth of the sun, a perfect contrast to the chill inside. Sit. Ethan pulled out a chair for her, then disappeared for a few minutes and returned with a tall glass of lemonade. Drink this. You'll feel better. Sophia took a sip, and it was like coming back to life. Thanks. See, This is the occupational hazard of ice cream tasting. I can see that, Ethan smiled, leaning against the railing, but you still look more energetic than most of my staff after 12 cups. So, you're saying I qualify to work here? She narrowed her eyes. Or, I could make you a special collaborator, he said with a half smile. Job description. Eat ice cream and tell the truth. Sophia burst out laughing, though her mind whispered, what exactly am I getting myself into here? A tasting session or something more? The sea breeze brushed past, the scent of vanilla still lingering from inside, and in that moment, she realized she wasn't just enjoying the ice cream, she was enjoying the company of the man standing before her. After yesterday's ice cream intoxication incident, Sophia still couldn't quite define what kind of man Ethan Carter really was. He was the CEO of a famous ice cream chain, yet he carried trays of ingredients himself, took notes on her reactions, and made lemonade like a friend. Today, she decided to accept his invitation to visit his main office, partly to return the favor by helping out with a few things, but also, admittedly, out of curiosity. The Carter Creamery office was on the second floor of the factory building. Glass walls looked straight down into the production floor below, where ice cream machines churned steadily, and employees bustled back and forth. Ethan emerged from a small meeting room, a file in hand, looking busy enough that Sophia expected nothing more than a polite nod. Instead, he walked right over, set the file down on the table where she sat, and smiled. Want a tour? She nodded, and so began her day as an accidental special collaborator. Ethan took Sophia to the flavor testing room. Here, fruits were diced into neat pieces, ingredients weighed to the exact gram. He explained the process as if lecturing a class of interns. A new recipe always starts with inspiration. Sometimes it's a dessert I had on a trip. Just a sudden scent, like the sea salt chili passion fruit flavor yesterday. I came up with it while eating green mango salad at a night market. Sophia laughed. So, you turned street food into ice cream? Exactly. He shrugged, his eyes gleaming. I want every scoop to tell a story. They had just stepped out of the testing room when an employee rushed over, handing Ethan a phone. Boss, a customer just posted a video online saying, our ice cream is so good, it's addictive. It's going viral. Sophia chuckled. Sounds like a compliment to me. Ethan gave her a sideways look as he watched the clip, shaking his head. Compliments are fine, but if people start joking that Carter Creamery causes addiction, the legal team's going to have extra work. Without missing a beat, he signaled to the marketing team, use it. Launch a campaign warning. May cause instant addiction, but make sure no over-the-top visuals. Sophia watched the staff jot down notes frantically, then turned to him. You're like a conductor leading an orchestra. Ethan smiled faintly. I just don't want to sit in the CEO's chair and watch from a distance. At midday, they had salad in the company cafeteria, a cozy space with large windows looking out over the ocean. As Sophia bit into a cherry tomato, she shared, I grew up in a small town, about 3 hours from here. Peaceful place, but nothing there except one grocery store, one high school, and one old ice cream shop. Was it good? Ethan asked, as seriously as if this were market research. Honestly, no, more ice than cream. But to us kids, it was paradise. Every time my dad gave me $2 for ice cream, I felt like I'd won the lottery. Ethan chuckled, but his expression softened. I know that feeling. I used to stand for hours in front of an ice cream counter in high school, just staring. Didn't buy any? Back then, I was saving up to open my own shop, he said slowly, smiling. In my senior year, I bought an old ice cream machine from a clearance store and started experimenting in my garage. Sounds like an inspirational teen movie. Sophia tilted her head. And now you're living the happy ending. Ethan gave a slight shrug, though the corners of his mouth lifted, maybe just the middle part. The happy ending is still to be determined. In the afternoon, as Ethan led Sophia through the product display room, they kept teasing each other. She joked that if Carter Creamery offered home delivery, she'd be customer number 1. He replied that he'd charge her a special delivery fee, payable in smiles. Their laughter echoed down the hallway so much that a group of employees passing by turned to look. One woman in the group whispered, they must have known each other for ages. Sophia heard it, thought of correcting her, but let it slide. She glanced at Ethan and found him smiling in that same mysterious way. By 4, Sophia was ready to head home. She was genuinely tired, not from the work, but from a day packed with new sights, scents, and unexpected stories. Just before she stepped into the elevator, Ethan called out, "Are you free tomorrow? I've got a new flavor launch at the Central Plaza. Inviting me to eat ice cream again?" Sophia grinned. "No." He shook his head, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "This time, I'm inviting you to work the booth with me." Sophia blinked, caught between surprise and curiosity. Is this a marketing stunt or a disguised date invitation? And as the elevator doors closed, she realized she was smiling to herself. That evening, Seaview's Central Plaza glowed under a blanket of lights. The summer festival had entered its third day, and tonight was the outdoor fair paired with a live music night. From a distance came the sound of acoustic guitar, mingled with the laughter and chatter of hundreds of locals and tourists. As soon as Sophia stepped out of her car, she spotted Ethan waiting by the Fairground gate, hands in his pockets, sleeves rolled up, his face far more relaxed than the busy one she'd seen before. He waved when she approached. Right on time, he glanced at his watch, smiling. "No ice cream tasting tonight, but there's still dessert. As long as you're not making me eat 12 different things in a row, we're good." Sophia grinned, recalling the ice cream hangover from the other day. They strolled into the fair, weaving through stalls that spilled out every kind of mouth-watering scent, from roasted corn and fried donuts to spun cotton candy. Strings of golden lights draped overhead made the whole place feel like walking through a living painting. As they walked, Ethan pointed out different stalls. Sprinkling in funny stories from last year's festival, Sophia discovered he had a tranquil kind of humor, understated, but every line made her laugh. "That over there is the ring toss." Ethan nodded toward a booth lined with glass bottles. "Want to try?" "Fair warning, I'm terrible at these," Sophia said, but still stepped up to buy a set of rings. The stall owner handed her 5 plastic rings. Sophia aimed and missed the first one by at least half a meter. The second bounced back, nearly hitting Ethan. "Wait, are you trying to take me out so you don't have to keep playing?" Ethan tilted his head with a smirk. "Not my fault," Sophia protested, though her cheeks warmed. Ethan asked for a few rings of his own, then tossed one clean through the center bottle. The bell rang, and the stall owner announced, "Congratulations, grand prize, giant teddy bear." He turned and handed the enormous white bear, nearly as tall as Sophia, to her. "For you." Sophia hugged it, grinning like a kid on Christmas, but still teased. "So, showing off your ring toss skills to impress me, huh?" "No." Ethan met her eyes, his voice lower and slower. "I just wanted to see you smile like that." The simple words made her pause. Her heartbeat quickened, and she clutched the bear a little tighter to hide her smile. They wandered on, stopping at a donut stall where fresh pastries sizzled in oil. Sophia bit into one, the sugar melting on her tongue. "So good," she sighed. "Try this." Ethan offered her another, drizzled with caramel and sprinkled with almonds. Sophia chewed, eyeing him. "I'm starting to suspect you're trying to fatten me up." "Maybe," he said with a half smile. "People are warmer in the winter when they've put on a little weight." She nearly choked on the sugar. The giant teddy soon became a bit of a problem. Sophia carried it everywhere, but squeezing through the crowd was a challenge. A little boy passing by exclaimed, "Mom, I want that bear." Sophia glanced at Ethan. "I think this bear is becoming the star of the fair." "Then I'd better escort it," Ethan said, taking it from her. The sight of a tall CEO in a white shirt carrying a massive teddy bear turned more than a few heads. Sophia walked beside him, laughing so hard her stomach hurt. "You know, you look adorable right now. Careful." Ethan shot her a sidelong glance. "I might take that as flirting." Sophia feigned seriousness. "In that case, don't expect me to take it back." Their eyes met briefly, and in the golden glow of the fairground, Sophia felt something warmer than the light jacket around her shoulders. When the festival wound down, Ethan insisted on driving her home to ensure the bear's safe arrival. On the way, they talked about everything from their favorite ice cream flavors to unspoken dreams. Before she stepped out, Sophia hugged the bear. "Thanks for a fun night." Ethan looked at her for a moment, the corners of his lips curling. "Me too. And I hope this isn't the last." Sophia walked into her house with her heart still racing. While outside, Ethan started the engine, his smile lingering just the same. The next morning, Sophia had barely stepped into her usual corner cafe when she sensed something was off. Usually, the owner would smile and ask what she wanted to drink. But today, the woman leaned over the counter, eyes glinting with mischief. "Sweetheart, have you heard the news?" Sophia frowned. "What news?" The owner pursed her lips and lowered her voice, as if afraid someone might overhear. "News about you and ice cream tycoon Carter." Sophia almost dropped her handbag. "What?" The owner winked. "The whole town's buzzing. They say you two were spotted at the fair last night, eating donuts while carrying a giant teddy bear." Sophia covered her face, feeling like she'd been cast as the lead in a play she hadn't even read the script for. Oh no. Seaview was a small town, and news here traveled faster than free Wi-Fi. Within hours, the romance between Sophia and Ethan had become the hottest topic at the flower shop. I heard Ethan even won the ring toss just to get her that giant teddy bear. At the fish market. She must be something special to catch his eye. At the hair salon. My niece said they looked at each other like they were in a movie. Everywhere Sophia went, she caught curious, amused glances, and that wasn't the end of it. That afternoon, 3 elderly women, Seaview's infamous matchmaking trio, showed up at the accounting office where Sophia worked. "You must be Sophia Lane," one began, her voice friendly but her eyes sharp with implication. "We just wanted to introduce ourselves." Sophia stood up, offering an awkward smile. "Yes, I'm Sophia." The second woman jumped in immediately. "I hear you're terrible at ring toss, but at least you walked away with the biggest prize." The third planted her hands on her hips and grinned. "We just want you to know we're rooting for you too." Sophia was caught between laughter and the urge to hide under her desk. "We're just friends," she said quickly. The answer did nothing to dull their enthusiasm. The first woman patted her shoulder. "In this town, just friends is usually the first step, dear." That evening, Sophia decided to swing by the ice cream factory to return the giant teddy bear. She figured keeping it at home would only add fuel to the rumor fire. When she arrived, Ethan was on the second-floor balcony, phone in hand. Spotting her, he smiled. "Here to file a complaint?" "About what?" "About starting the rumor that the ice cream tycoon has a new girlfriend all over town." Sophia put her hands on her hips. "So, you've heard?" Ethan nodded, completely unfazed. "Let the rumor run its course." "But you're not bothered?" she asked, surprised. "Not unless the person in the rumor is bothered." His eyes glimmered with a hint of something else. Sophia blinked. That didn't sound like a throwaway line. They sat at a small table on the balcony, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of vanilla from the factory below. Sophia recounted her run-in with the matchmaking trio and how everyone had been eyeing her all day. Ethan chuckled, folding his arms. "You know, in this town, the moment someone sees me with a woman, they're already picking out wedding invitations. So, you're used to it?" "I am, but this time's a little different." Sophia almost asked, "What's different?" But stayed quiet. Something in his eyes made her pulse quicken. Before she left, Ethan said, "There's a grand opening for a new Carter Creamery store this weekend. Want to come with me?" "And if I say no?" Sophia teased. "Then I'll ask the matchmaking trio to convince you," he said with a grin. She laughed out loud, then nodded. "All right, I'll go, but you'd better be ready. The rumors will flare up again." "I don't mind," Ethan said slowly. "In fact, I might even hope they're true." Sophia walked to her car, feeling both flustered and oddly warm. She realized that among all the gossip and curious stares in town, what lingered most in her mind was the way Ethan had just looked at her. That afternoon, Seaview felt more alive than usual. Carter Creamery's newest store had just opened, and naturally, Ethan Carter, the town's famed ice cream tycoon, was the star of the event. Sophia walked in with a mix of excitement and curiosity, partly because of Ethan's invitation and partly because she genuinely wanted to see the place he had poured so much passion into. Inside looked nothing like any ice cream shop she'd seen before. The walls were lined with wooden boards handwritten with flavor names, paper lanterns dangled from the ceiling, and small potted plants hung overhead, making the space both warm and vibrant. The air was rich with vanilla, chocolate, and coconut, and after just a minute, her stomach gave an eager growl. Ethan was behind the counter in a pale blue shirt, sleeves rolled up, speaking with an employee. When he noticed her, he raised his brows slightly and smiled a smile that made her heart give a subtle jolt. "You made it." "I promised, didn't I?" she replied, glancing around quickly, catching a few furtive glances thrown her way. Clearly, the rumor mill was still alive and well. Without a word, Ethan handed her a cup of the newly launched strawberry cheesecake flavor. "Try it." Sophia took a spoonful, letting the sweet tang of strawberry melt into the creamy saltiness of cheesecake. She nodded. "Delicious. You really do know how to make people addicted." Ethan just gave a faint smile and gestured for her to follow. They slipped through a small door behind the counter into the production area. a place regular customers weren't allowed. The room was like a colorful laboratory. Mixers churned steadily. Trays of ingredients lined the counters: fresh berries, handcrafted syrups, and spices she couldn't even name. Sweet, cool air wrapped around her, making Sophia feel like she'd wandered into a wonderland, if that wonderland was kept at 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Ethan opened a commercial freezer, pulling out a small, unlabeled tub of ice cream and offering her a spoon. "This is my secret project." "Sounds dangerous," Sophia teased. "What's in it? Codes or alien ingredients? Maybe something better." "Taste it." She scooped a spoonful. The gentle sweetness of orange hit first, followed by a subtle saltiness at the finish. Sophia frowned slightly. "It's good, but I can't place all the flavors." "Exactly. The recipe isn't finished. I want to debut it at next year's festival, but I haven't found the final spark of inspiration yet." Resting her chin on her hand, she smirked. "What if you made an ice cream flavored like gossip with me?" She expected him to laugh, but instead, Ethan held her gaze, eyes steady, as if searching for something. "Not joking. You're exactly the inspiration I've been looking for." Sophia froze for a moment, her chest tightening in a way she couldn't quite name. "Me? There's nothing special about me." Ethan smiled faintly, but his voice was low and sincere. "You make everything more interesting. Even just eating ice cream or wandering a fair. You're not trying to impress me. And that's what impresses me most." Her cheeks warmed. She turned away, pretending to study a tray of chocolate to avoid his eyes, though her heart kept pounding. To break the moment, Ethan began telling her about the first time he made ice cream in high school, the old machine he bought with his savings, the countless kitchen disasters that almost got him banned from cooking by his mom. Until one day, he accidentally made a mint vanilla flavor so good that she ate the entire tub. Sophia laughed, picturing it, realizing that Ethan wasn't just a polished, successful businessman, but also a boy who had once stubbornly chased a simple dream. When the staff stepped out to take a fresh batch to the counter, it was just the two of them. Ethan grabbed another tub and handed her the spoon. "Help me test it." Inspiration. Sophia took the spoon, noticing how close they were, close enough for her to catch the subtle scent of his shirt, vanilla with a hint of warm wood. She tasted it and smiled. "This one's almost perfect. Then I just need to add a little something, like what happens when you talk to me." She laughed, but couldn't hide the warmth blooming in her chest. When they returned to the counter, Ethan handed her a large cup, a mix of all the flavors she'd tried that day. "Consider it a thank you for accidentally becoming my muse. And I'll consider it a thank you for accidentally giving you inspiration." As she stepped out of the shop, Sophia carried the cup in her hand, and a sweetness that came not just from chocolate or salted orange, but from the way Ethan had looked at her when he said those words. On the way home, the ocean breeze wove through her hair, and she knew this was a flavor she wouldn't forget. On a bright, golden weekend morning, Seaview's Central Plaza was alive with music and chatter. Colorful flags fluttered overhead, rows of food stalls lined the square, and right in the center stood the main stage of the summer festival. Locals poured in, eager to sample the treats and watch the town's signature amusements, one of which was the much-anticipated speed ice cream eating contest, a tradition that never failed to draw a crowd. Sophia had only planned to drop by for a stroll, iced coffee in hand, weaving leisurely through the crowd. But before she knew it, the voice of the event's MC boomed through the speakers. "And now we have a brand new, very special contestant, Sophia Lane." She froze in her tracks. "Excuse me, what?" Just then, Ethan appeared behind her, wearing the most punchable grin she'd ever seen. "I signed you up. Come on, it'll be fun." "You what?" Sophia stared at him. "I never signed up." "Exactly. That's why I did it for you." He said it as though it were the most natural thing in the world, then gently guided her toward the stage. "Up you go. They're waiting." Before she could protest, the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Chants of Sophia. Sophia rose from every corner, drawing eyes from all directions. There was no way out now. The long contest table was covered in a crisp white cloth, each spot set with a giant sundae, 3 scoops, the size of fists piled high. The air was thick with the sweet scent of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Beside her sat Seaview's most notorious ice cream warriors, all poised like they were about to enter battle. The MC called out, "Rules are simple. Finish your sundae first, and you win. Ready, set, go." The whistle blew. Sophia dove in with her first spoonful. Cold, painfully cold, but the rich, creamy sweetness melted so quickly on her tongue that she couldn't resist another bite. 2 spoons. 3. She glanced sideways. The competitor next to her was nearly done with their first scoop. She couldn't let them win. She sped up, fueled by the roar of the crowd. Somewhere in the blur, she spotted Ethan in front of the stage, arms folded, smiling like he was watching a masterpiece unfold. "Come on," he yelled. "I know you can do it." And she did. Just minutes later, Sophia set her spoon down and leaned back, taking a deep, triumphant breath. The Sunday before her was gone. "We have a winner," the MC announced. The crowd erupted in cheers and whistles. Sophia grinned until the sharp, icy stab of a brain freeze hit her like 1,000 needles to the forehead. Oh no. She pressed her hands to her temples, wincing. "I think I just overdosed on ice cream." Ethan was already on stage, steadying her with a hand on her arm, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "That's called a brain freeze, not an overdose." "Feels like an overdose to me," she groaned. "All right, champ. I'm taking you home," he said, turning his back to her. "Hop on." "What?" "A piggyback. You're not walking in this state." Sophia wanted to argue, but another icy stab convinced her otherwise. She climbed onto his back, hearing the crowd's delighted laughter. Phones came out, snapping photos of the ice cream tycoon carrying the contest's victor. Sophia buried her face against his shoulder to hide, and caught the familiar, comforting scent of vanilla and warm wood from his shirt. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it?" she asked as they left the festival grounds. "Signing me up so that you could carry me home." "And if I said yes," his voice was low, teasing, "you still won. Didn't you?" "I did. But the price is, I'm not touching ice cream for a week." "No, you'll be back. I'm going to make you a new flavor. One just for the champion." That shut her up. The sea breeze brushed her hair, his back solid beneath her. And despite the lingering ache in her head, a warm contentment spread through her. At her front door, Ethan set her down gently. "Drink something warm, and don't forget to tell everyone, you just beat the entire town." Sophia laughed, leaning against the door. "I'll just tell them I have a very strange coach." He arched a brow. Strange but effective. He turned to leave but glanced back with a slanted smile. "Good night, champ." The door clicked shut, and Sophia rested her forehead against it, smiling to herself. Maybe this was the first time in her life she was glad to be forced into eating ice cream until her head ached. And maybe it had nothing to do with the win and everything to do with the man who had been there, cheering her on until the very last bite. Morning in Seaview was anything but peaceful. Word spread like waves hitting the shore. Baxter Foods, a giant in the food industry, was in talks to buy out Carter Creamery. Everywhere in town, from the fish counter at the market to the barber's chair, people were whispering, "Is the ice cream tycoon selling the company?" If he does, Seaview is going to lose its pride and joy. Sophia heard the news while ordering her morning coffee. She froze, her heart skipping a beat. If Carter Creamery changed hands, the town wouldn't just lose its signature brand, Ethan would lose his dream. When she stepped into the ice cream shop, the atmosphere felt like a layer of frost had settled over it. Staff worked quietly, avoiding each other's eyes, occasionally glancing toward Ethan's office. The door was shut, but through the frosted glass, Sophia could see him standing with one hand braced on the desk, the other holding his phone, his voice taut like a drawn bowstring. "No, I told you, Carter Creamery is not for sale." She knocked, then pushed the door open. "I come bearing supplies. Cappuccino with extra cinnamon. How you like it?" Ethan looked up. For a split second, the weariness in his eyes broke through before he smoothed it over. "Thanks. But today might not be the best day to drop by." Sophia set the cup on his desk and sat across from him, arms crossed. "Exactly why I'm here. Now talk. What's so serious?" He sighed, putting the phone down and leaning back in his chair. "Baxter Foods has made an offer to buy my entire operation. The number they've put on the table is enough to make anyone in this industry think twice. But you're not anyone, are you?" Sophia pressed. "No," his voice dropped lower. "Carter Creamery is 10 years of my life. It's my father's recipes. It's the livelihood of dozens of people here. But Baxter plays rough. They've planted stories in the press, claiming we're in financial trouble, trying to drag our brand value down." Sophia's brow furrowed. "That's dirty. And that's not all." Ethan grabbed a folder from his desk and tossed it toward her. "These are our longtime suppliers who just got emails advising them to cut ties with Carter Creamery." She flipped through a few pages, her blood simmering. "They're trying to choke you out before landing the final blow." Ethan stayed silent. For the first time, She saw something in his eyes that looked a lot like fatigue. She got up, walked around the desk, and put the coffee in his hand. "Drink, Ethan," she said firmly. "You need a clear head more than you need to stay wound tight like a piano wire." He gave a small laugh but did as she said. Sophia pulled up a chair beside him and lowered her voice. "Listen, I don't know much about business strategy, but I do know one thing. Baxter only wins if you lose your fight, and I'm not letting that happen." She launched into a story, complete with dramatic hand gestures, about the time she accidentally ate onion-flavored ice cream at the county fair when she was 12. The part where she took a bite, burst into tears, and went running for water had him finally laughing out loud. "See that?" She pointed at him. "Laughing is the first step to beating pressure. You are something else." He shook his head, but his eyes had softened. "Thank you." The phone rang again. Ethan glanced at the caller ID. Frowning, Sophia leaned over, caught a glimpse of the name, and smirked. "Let me guess, Baxter." He gave a faint nod. "Then today, you're answering with a smile. If they want to bring you down with rumors, let them see you're unshaken." Ethan studied her for a moment, then hit accept. Sophia couldn't hear the whole exchange, but she saw the way he straightened, his voice steadier and firmer than it had been minutes earlier. When he hung up, Sophia arched a brow. "Told you coffee and a funny story are stronger weapons than you think. Maybe I should hire you as a full-time morale strategist," he said, smiling for real now. "Salary? 1 year of free ice cream." Sophia laughed. "I'll take it, but only if you promise Carter Creamery stays in Seaview." "Promise." His voice was warm, but his eyes carried the weight of an oath. In that moment, Sophia realized she wasn't just helping a friend, she was standing beside him against an absolute storm, and maybe she was ready for it. That afternoon, as she headed for the door, Ethan called after her. "Sophia," she turned. "What is it?" "If things get rough, I hope you'll still be here." The words made her blink, not just because of what they meant, but because of the way he looked at her when he said them. For a heartbeat, between the scent of vanilla and the low hum of the mixers downstairs, she felt like he'd just given her a promise or maybe an invitation to a journey longer than she'd ever imagined. The next afternoon, the skies over Seaview hung heavy and gray, hinting at an oncoming storm, but no one seemed to notice the weather. All eyes were fixed on the Carter Creamery building. Rumors had been swirling that Baxter Foods was set to hold a press conference at Seaview Plaza to announce a merger, and the tension in town was palpable. When Sophia walked into the office, she found Ethan standing at a whiteboard, marker in hand, scrawling out lines of strategy. On his desk, his phone buzzed nonstop with calls, messages, and emails from lawyers, partners, and staff. "Baxter is going to announce the deal next Monday morning," Ethan said without looking up. "If they do that, even without a signed contract, the market will believe I've sold. My share price will tank, and then you'll lose control." Sophia finished for him, her voice quieter than usual. Ethan set the marker down and turned to face her. "I need a way to dismantle the narrative they're building, but we're running out of time." Sophia was silent for a few seconds, then stepped forward, bracing her hands on the desk, her eyes brightening. "If they're using the media to hit you, you can use the media to hit back. What are you suggesting?" "This whole town loves Carter Creamery. If they see you out there, publicly declaring you're keeping the company, and you pair it with a strong visual, Baxter can't keep pushing the 'you've already sold' story. The Summer Food Festival is just 2 days away, and the local television station will be filming live. All you have to do is show up, launch a new flavor, and announce it as the start of a new decade for Carter Creamery. We have to move before their press conference. Baxter won't see it coming." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "The problem is, I don't have a new product." Sophia smiled faintly. "You forget already the gossip with Sophia flavor." A low laugh escaped him, but then he nodded slowly, as if gears were turning in his mind. A new flavor unveiled live. With the story behind it, it could work. Exactly. Sophia leaned closer, lowering her voice. "And you'll need a story people will remember." Ethan studied her for a moment, his eyes darkening slightly. "I think I just found it." They spent the entire evening in Carter Creamery's test kitchen. Sophia stood beside Ethan, tasting each trial batch. He turned out roasted coconut with caramel and a hint of sea salt, wild strawberries swirled with soft cream cheese, classic vanilla drizzled with honey ginger sauce. "This one's great," she said, wincing after the 7th sample. "But it's so spicy. I think I just ate a chili pepper." "That's the accent note," Ethan replied with a grin. "But I'll cut the ginger in half." The atmosphere between them was both focused and unexpectedly warm. Between recipe tweaks, They traded stories they'd never told anyone else. Ethan spoke about selling ice cream at a fair when he was 17. Sophia told him about the summer she was 14, working in the old ice cream shop in her hometown. Outside, the storm offshore began to stir up the waves. Inside, the air was filled with the scent of vanilla, the steady hum of mixers, and their shared laughter. Enough to soften the pressure pressing in on Carter Creamery. Finally, as the clock struck midnight, Ethan set a small cup in front of her. "This is it. The flavor that's going to save the company." Sophia took a spoonful, sweet, cool, lightly salted, with a warm ginger note lingering at the end. She looked at him and smiled. "This flavor, it's just like you." Ethan tilted his head. "How so?" "Cold on the outside, but with a hint of warmth you don't expect." His gaze held hers longer than it needed to. "If this is ice cream, then you're the reason I found the recipe." Sophia froze for a beat, then laughed to shake off the sudden quickening in her chest. "All right, back to work. We've got 2 days left." Ethan smiled and turned back to the workstation. But that smile lingered at the corners of his mouth for a long time after. That morning, Sophia woke up intending to stop by Carter Creamery to see how Ethan was holding up after days of non-stop work. But the moment she walked into the shop, she found him behind the counter, staring at a stack of papers and his phone, like the world was trying to force him to sign away his soul. "Stop," Sophia said, tapping the counter lightly so he'd look up. "You're not working today." "I can't. There's too much." Not listening, she folded her arms and tilted her head. "You've been working non-stop for days. If you keep going like this, your head's going to explode before the festival." Ethan stared at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "And what exactly do you plan to do with me?" "Kidnap you," Sophia replied with a shrug, as if it were the most obvious answer in the world. "We're going fishing." 15 minutes later, Ethan still wasn't sure how she had convinced him. He was sitting in an old wooden boat, borrowed from the docks, sleeves of his white shirt rolled up, wearing simple jeans. Sophia sat opposite him in a light sundress, hair tied high under a straw hat. She handed him a fishing rod with a bright smile. "See, no boardroom, no contracts, just the water, the rods, and us." Ethan gazed out over the vast stretch of blue, the salty breeze cool against his face. Slowly, he felt his chest loosen with the rhythm of the waves. They didn't catch much. In fact, Ethan hooked a torn sneaker, while Sophia had her bait stolen by a crab, but they laughed the whole time. Each time Ethan fumbled with the hook, Sophia reached over to adjust his grip, her fingers brushing his, the fleeting warmth making both of them fall quiet for a moment longer than necessary. By noon, they docked and wandered into a small seafood shack, tucked between 2 weathered wooden houses. There was no fancy menu, just grilled fish, steamed shrimp, scallops, and a steaming bowl of seafood chowder that filled the air with the scent of the sea. "I swear this chowder is so good. You'll want to open a whole Carter seafood chain," Sophia said, dipping a piece of bread into her bowl. "And if I did, what would you do?" Ethan rested his chin on his hand, watching her with a teasing look. "I'd be your brand ambassador." Paid in a year's supply of free seafood, she shot back without missing a beat. He chuckled, shaking his head. "You really do know how to bargain." In the afternoon, instead of heading back to the office, Sophia dragged him to his own house, a modern wooden home with an open kitchen and a freezer stuffed with ice cream. "We're making ice cream," she declared, eyes lighting up like a child in a toy store. "I thought you swore off ice cream after that eating contest." "That was ancient history." She waved him off. "Today's ice cream therapy." They set to work creating a new flavor. Sophia measured ingredients while Ethan handled the machine and temperature settings. Everything was going fine until Sophia added way too much sweetened condensed milk, turning the mixture into something with the texture of wet cement. "You look like you need decorating more than the ice cream does," she said slyly, dabbing a smear of ice cream onto the tip of his nose. He froze, giving her a mock warning look, though the corner of his mouth curved up. "You just made a strategic mistake." Before she could react, he scooped a little and tapped it onto her nose. "Ethan!" She burst into laughter, trying to dodge, but failed. And soon, the kitchen had turned into a full-blown, sweet, sticky ice cream battlefield. Eventually, they slumped against the kitchen counter, catching their breath, spoons still in hand, each with a little smear of ice cream on their nose. Outside, the sunset painted the room in warm gold, making time feel slower. Sophia glanced over and found Ethan looking at her, his eyes warm but edged with something more profound. "Thanks for kidnapping me today," he said quietly. I think I'd forgotten what a day without pressure feels like." "Then remember it." She smiled gently, wiping the smear from his nose. "Sometimes, letting go of everything is the only way to hold on to what matters." Ethan didn't answer, but the way he looked at her made Sophia's heart skip a beat. That morning, Carter Creamery was buzzing like a massive machine running at full capacity. It wasn't just because tomorrow would be the biggest festival of the year, but also because today, Ethan Carter would announce a special plan, a plan that could determine the future of the entire company. As Sophia stepped into the office, coffee in hand, she saw him standing in front of the large board, speaking rapidly with the marketing team and production managers. When he noticed her, Ethan only had time for a brief smile before turning back to his presentation. "This is Salt and Sea Breeze, the new ice cream flavor that will debut at the festival. Sea salt blended with warm ginger and caramel, not unique, but also a symbol of Seaview, briny, warm, and sweet." His deep, steady voice carried each word as if it struck directly into the air. Everyone nodded in agreement. But he didn't stop there. "And a large portion of the revenue from this product will go into the Community Support Fund, not just scholarships for children, but also renovations for the harbor, upgrades to the medical center, and vocational training for young people." The room stirred. One employee hesitantly asked, "But you've never announced these activities before?" Ethan paused, his eyes reflecting a thoughtful glint. "Because I don't do it for recognition," he said slowly. "For years, we've contributed quietly, with only a few people in the company knowing, but now, the company is being targeted by a major corporation. They want to take over Carter Creamery, strip it of its soul, and use it only for profit." He paused for a moment, looking each person in the eye. "I'm not making this public to brag. This is a strategy to keep the company. If the community sees that we belong to them, they'll stand with us. Carter Creamery won't just be mine. It will belong to all of Seaview." From the back of the room, Sophia felt as though she was seeing a different Ethan, not just the cool-headed ice cream mogul, but a man who poured his entire heart into every decision. The day rushed by in a flurry of tasks, finalizing the marketing plan, confirming the guest list, and testing the new flavor one last time. By dusk, everything was finally in place. Ethan stood and turned to her. "Let me take you home." As they stepped outside, rain began to fall first as a light sprinkle, then quickly turning into a downpour. Instead of heading straight home, Ethan turned down a small side street and stopped in front of a warm-looking crepe shop under a wooden awning. "Let's wait out the rain," he said, opening the door for her. The cozy little space was filled with the scent of butter and chocolate. They ordered 2 crepes and sat by the window, watching the rain cascade down the street. The golden light from the shop reflected on Ethan's face, softening the weariness of the long day. After a while, as she was cutting into her crepe, Ethan spoke slowly. "Sophia, I want you by my side for the long term." She froze, her fork suspended mid-air. "You mean in the lifetime ice cream tester position?" she teased, trying to hide the sudden quickening of her heartbeat. Ethan chuckled softly and shook his head. "No, I want more than that." She pretended to focus on her plate, but his gaze never left her face. "I'm not good at this whole confessing thing, but today, when I announced that plan, I thought if I lost Carter Creamery, I wouldn't just lose the company, I'd lose the chance to see you here every day." Outside, the rain kept pouring down, but in that moment, Sophia felt as if the entire room had quieted, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat and the deep, unwavering look in Ethan's eyes. The Seaview Food Festival that year began under a cloudless sky, with colorful flags fluttering in the sea breeze and lively music filling the central square. Locals from all over town and visitors from nearby cities poured in, eager to witness the launch of Carter Creamery's newest ice cream flavor. Ethan stepped onto the main stage, dressed simply, yet carrying an unmistakable air of confidence and authority. Sophia stood at the side of the stage, holding the cup of coffee he had handed her that morning, her heart beating strangely fast. He glanced at her briefly before facing the hundreds of eyes watching from below. "Hello, Seaview." Ethan's voice came through the microphone, deep, yet warm. "Today is not just about launching a new product. Today, I want to tell you the truth. Carter Creamery has never been just an ice cream company." The crowd fell silent, the only sound, the gentle crash of waves in the distance. "For many years, we have quietly dedicated a portion of our revenue to helping this town, from scholarships for children, to supporting struggling families, to repairing the old harbor. I never announced it because I didn't do it for praise. But today, I have to speak up. He paused for a moment, letting his gaze sweep over the faces in the crowd. We're facing the risk of losing Carter Creamery to an unfamiliar corporation. I don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. And I believe that if we stand together, Carter Creamery will not only survive it, will enter a new era for the community, for Seaview. Applause erupted like rolling waves. Ethan signaled for the staff to wheel out a table draped in white cloth. When the fabric was pulled away, the entire square gasped. On the table sat rows of brand new Salt and Sea Breeze ice cream, their caramel gold tops dusted with sparkling sea salt. This is our new flavor. It's salty like the sea, warm like the sun, and sweet like the bond Seaview shares with one another. Starting today, a large portion of the revenue from Salt and Sea Breeze will go to the Seaview Better Fund, a development fund for this town. Cheers and whistles rang out. Cameras from the press and media flashed non-stop. Television reporters jostled to get interviews, live streaming the moment across social media. Ethan raised his hand for quiet once more, then smiled toward Sophia. And finally, I want to give a special thank you to Sophia Lane, the one who reminded me that Carter Creamery is not just work, but joy, sharing, and hope. Sophia's eyes widened as the crowd turned to look at her. A few people whistled teasingly, while the town's self-appointed matchmakers grinned knowingly. She could only give a shy smile, shaking her head slightly, as Ethan looked down at her with warmth and pride in his eyes. That evening, as the crowd thinned, Sophia was helping clear the tables when Ethan received a phone call. The screen lit up with a name, Baxter, the man leading the corporation trying to take over Carter Creamery. Ethan put the phone to his ear. Ethan Carter speaking. Baxter's voice came through, cold and sharp. You've just chained yourself to that pathetic little town, Ethan. You think this community PR stunt will save your company? Leaning against the railing, Ethan gazed out at the night sea, glittering with the lights of the festival. It's not a PR stunt. It's how I protect Carter Creamery and everything it stands for. You'll regret this, Baxter said. Each word clipped. Ethan gave a quiet laugh, his tone calm but firm. No, my company will stand strong, stronger than ever. He hung up and turned back to see Sophia holding the giant teddy bear he had given her before, helping staff pack up the leftover ice cream to give to children in the neighborhood. Warmth rose in his chest. Tonight, Carter Creamery hadn't just kept the company, they had kept the heart of the entire town. The closing night of the Seaview Festival was always the most dazzling moment of the year. The central square sparkled under hundreds of strings of golden lights, the stage decorated with ribbons and shades of ocean blue and sunny yellow. Live music filled the air, blending with the laughter and chatter of hundreds of locals and visitors. Sophia was backstage, holding a glass of lemonade, chatting with a Carter Creamery staff member while sneaking glances at Ethan, who was busy on stage. He wore a crisp white shirt with the sleeves neatly rolled up, still exuding that quiet authority that made people take notice. Suddenly, the MC's voice rang out over the microphone. And before we wrap up this wonderful festival, Ethan Carter has something special he wants to share. Sophia blinked, curious. She had no idea he'd prepared anything beyond his afternoon speech. Ethan stepped up to the microphone, a hint of a mysterious smile on his lips. Tonight, I'd like to invite someone very special to join me on stage. Sophia Lane, would you come up here? The square erupted in cheers and applause. Sophia blushed, her heart pounding as everyone turned to look at her. Urging her forward, she reluctantly walked up, wondering, what is he up to now? Standing beside him, Ethan handed her a special ice cream bar, chocolate-coated, sprinkled with shimmering nuts, and labeled, Seaview Summer. This is a flavor I created just for you. Sophia smiled, taking the ice cream. She was just about to take a bite when she felt something hard inside. Frowning slightly, she looked closer and gasped. Nestled within was an elegant silver ring, set with a sea blue gemstone that sparkled under the lights. She laughed, covering her mouth. You're proposing, but still want me to eat the ice cream first? The crowd below roared with laughter, a few people whistling in encouragement. Ethan leaned toward her, his voice warm and teasing. You know me. Every important moment needs ice cream. Then, in the middle of the stage, under the shimmering lights and the cheers of the whole town, he dropped to one knee. Sophia Lane, will you be my lifelong partner, sharing ice cream with me every summer, everywhere from Seaview to anywhere we go? Sophia looked at him, feeling as though the whole festival and the vast Seaview sky were contained in his eyes. She laughed, her own eyes glistening. If the marriage contract includes a clause for one new flavor every week, then yes. Ethan grinned, slipping the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a tight embrace. Fireworks exploded in the sky above, the scent of the sea mingling with the sweetness of ice cream, marking a night Seaview would talk about for years to come. The following summer, Seaview was once again filled with the scent of the sea and the sound of laughter. The food festival opened like a familiar promise, but for Sophia, everything was completely different this year. No longer the girl who had accidentally sat at the wrong VIP table to sneak a toasted coconut ice cream, she was now Sophia Carter, the wife of famous ice cream mogul Ethan Carter, and the head of Carter Creamery's experimental flavors department. From early morning, the central square was alive with excitement. Colorful stalls lined the streets, the hum of ice cream machines mingling with children's delighted squeals as they received their cold treats. At the center stood the creative ice cream corner run by Sophia, drawing crowds of locals and tourists alike. The table was loaded with dozens of toppings: fresh strawberries, chocolate chips, gummy candies, cookie crumbs, caramel, each one filling the air with sweet aromas. In a pale blue dress and an apron printed with the Carter Creamery logo, Sophia beamed as she showed the kids how to decorate their ice cream. Remember, the trick is just the right amount of topping. Too much, and your ice cream might collapse before you get to eat it, she teased, making the children burst into giggles. Behind the counter, Ethan was busy scooping ice cream. Even as CEO, he had his sleeves rolled up, working like any other server. "Extra chocolate topping, please, Mr. Carter," a curly-haired little girl called out. "Coming right up, princess," Ethan replied, as if serving the most critical VIP customer of his life. From time to time, when no one was watching, his gaze would drift to Sophia. Seeing her laugh and chat with the crowd, Ethan felt as though he was back in those early days when she had unexpectedly walked into his life in a way that was pure Seaview, sweet, surprising, and just a little messy. When the crowd thinned for a moment, Sophia walked over to him and whispered, "Remember? This all started with a wrong table and a toasted coconut ice cream." Ethan smiled, leaning his forehead against hers. "I remember, and I'll thank that wrong table for the rest of my life." She laughed, giving his shoulder a playful shove. "Stop it. If you say that in public, the whole town will tease us forever." "I don't mind," Ethan winked. "I think everyone wants to hear a love story that began with ice cream." That afternoon, Carter Creamery hosted a special event. Free ice cream for every child in Seaview. Together, Sophia and Ethan scooped and handed out each cone. The air was filled with grateful little thank yous and radiant smiles. Many parents lingered to chat, thanking Ethan for not only saving Carter Creamery, but turning it into a valid symbol of the town, a part of Seaview's heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the square in gold, Sophia sat on the steps, watching the children play with ice cream cones in hand. Ethan brought her a cup of vanilla topped with caramel, her favorite. "You know," he said as he sat beside her, "people say summer always ends, but I think with you, my summer will never end." Sophia smiled softly, turning to look at him. "And I think with you, every day can start with ice cream and end with laughter." They sat there, shoulder to shoulder, watching fireworks burst over the beach, their colors reflected on the water like thousands of gemstones. Carter Creamery was no longer just a company, it was part of Seaview's soul, and the story of the girl who sat at the wrong table and the ice cream mogul would be told again and again at every festival, proof that sometimes happiness comes from the most unexpected moments. For them, summer would never end.